Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. If you're feeling charitable, please smash the subscribe button and the like button. Follow me on Twitter and also follow my TikTok, which is very, very popular. Mad Mickey 555. Check it out if you're into TikTok, of course. So welcome to this long overdue James Bond film. Just like Superman, I've been watching James Bond movies since I was a small boy. I love the films and I love this character. One of the most unique things about this franchise is that it's been run by the same family since Dr. No. That's amazing. Now we know that Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman started this franchise, and then it was Cubby Broccoli. After Cubby passed away, it was handed down to his wonderful daughter, Barbara Broccoli. Now, I'm not a fan of nepotism, but I'll tell you something. She wasn't given the reins to this because she was just his daughter. She has capably steered this franchise, what now, for 20, 30 years? Her decisions have pretty much been impeccable. The decision to reboot the Bond franchise was a very controversial one and a very brave one from Barbara and Michael G. Wilson, who's been there pretty much from the very beginning. They've been a great, great partnership. I just hope in the future, if she's got children, they take the reins and this goes on and on. Because I think it's the greatest movie franchise and I think it's the most successful. Now, you're going to be throwing MCU bombs at me, but this is unique. And what they did by rebooting this, they made this, five now? 4, 5, can't even remember the number, but 5 interconnected movies. Daniel Craig's era as Bond is a continuing saga. And I like that. And that's very, very modern day. Now, it's interesting to think what they will do next in terms of the franchise. You see, when I keep on seeing the No Time to Die trailers and marketing, there's a lot of hints, if you focus, of Bond dying. So if Bond is killed off in this movie, one of the things that worried me actually was that the new 007, the female 007, will take over the reins and we'll just have a female 007. And James Bond won't be in this franchise. I'm very, very happy for the new female 007 to have spin-off movies. And I think she's a brilliant actor, right? And she'd be great. But we always need a Bond in this franchise. Let's not be silly. And I think Barbara and Michael G. Wilson really have to think about this now. They need to expand this, like the MCU has become. You know, a multitude of movies, Miss Money Penny movies, you know, Q movies, whatever you want to do. Blofeld movies. You know, you could do what DC and WB did with the Joker movie starring Joaquin Phoenix. Give us a Blofeld origin story. That would be fun as well. They've got to start thinking outside the box. James Bond is one of the most popular fictional characters still in the world. You know, he's 50 plus years old in movie franchise. Obviously, the Ian Fleming novels are even older than that. I've never read an Ian Fleming novel. I've always loved Bond, but it's discovering the YouTuber Calvin Dyson. I don't know if you know about him. What a brilliant young man this is. His platform is wonderful here on YouTube. You really need to check him out. Calvin Dyson, Calvison, Dyson. Loves his Bond. Brilliant. Such a genuine young man. Couldn't say enough of him. He's really brought my love for James Bond out again. And I really want to talk about this current irritation. Because Casino Royale really is the lifeblood of this franchise. It's the ultimate James Bond origin story. It's as close to a James Bond origin story as we'll probably ever get. And James Bond origin stories are very controversial for Bond fans, just like a Doctor Who origin story when we heard rumours of a Doctor Who movie coming from one of the directors of Harry Potter. If you remember how controversial that news was, something that never happened thanks to Stephen Moffat. So I think fans kind of want a mystique about Bond's origin. I've got lots of ideas, which maybe we'll talk about later on. But I do feel that Casino Royale is one of the best origin stories. It's brilliant. The core threads and narratives, Vesper's so important to this James Bond. and she bleeds through every movie, which I think is amazing. I really do. And her energy, the love he has for her, the betrayal he feels at first, as we see in Quantum. And talking of Quantum of Solace, you see, Quantum of Solace gets a lot of shit. As a film on its own, it really doesn't stand out that much, and it feels anticlimactic after you first finish watching it. But should I tell you what Quantum of Solace is and the issue, really, that people have? Quantum of Solace is the fourth act of Casino Royale. Now, as a fourth act of Casino Royale, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant conclusion to that story. But as a film, standing on its own, it simply doesn't work because of how I've explained it. I've always asked people, can you just cut Casino Royale and Quantum together? It's a movie. It's one movie. So I think that's the problem with Quantum. They wanted to create this, this kind of continuing saga, which Quantum does. Quantum picks up straight after Casino, which is a great idea. But because in the developing of Quantum, they just kind of had this fourth act of Casino, it didn't stand out as a film, which is a shame. But as a conclusion to the Casino Royale kind of narrative, it's beautiful. And the threads are sewn up really neatly. So I like it in those terms. And then we have Skyfall. And actually, is there 4 films? There's 4 films. I said 5, didn't I? This No Time to Die is going to be the 5th film. So Skyfall, if I remember rightly, and my memory is shit, but yeah, Skyfall is the 3rd movie. Skyfall is the movie that has to work because obviously with the mixed response of Quantum, you have to have a big movie. So bringing Sam Mendes was a great idea by Barbara, Michael G. Wilson, and Daniel Craig, who has a lot of say on what goes on in these movies. More on that a little bit later on. I do have issues with that. Certainly with what's happened with No Time to Die. So basically, Skyfall is a brilliant film. It's the most successful Bond film of all time. But really, Bond films have been making record-breaking money since Die Another Day, Pierce Brosnan's final movie. That film isn't a very popular amongst Bond fans, but I tell you what, it made a lot of green. People came in for that movie. And Pierce Brosnan really made Bond a lot more of a kind of mainstream consumer bunch of movies. He had that pull. So you get Skyfall, which is a very good film, brilliantly directed by Sam Mendes. The writers did a great job. And so everyone's really, really excited now and expecting an even better movie. Unfortunately, I was so excited when they unleashed the title Spectre. I thought, yes, it's Spectre behind everything. They're going to introduce Blofeld. This is very, very exciting. Spectre had a lot of problems. I'll never forget Daniel Craig at the premiere saying he'd rather slit his wrist than do another Bond film. I was very disgusted at Daniel for that. I must admit, I didn't think that those were comments that, all right, you just made a Bond film, you're knackered, you're doing all the marketing. Don't say, that was deep, mate. No pun intended, that's a deep cut. You shouldn't be talking like that. And then we didn't know if he was coming back. He was. It'll be interesting to know what Barbara and Michael would have done if he didn't come back. But in a way, it was cleverly placed the way they ended it. Bond goes off in the sunset with the lady, and I forget her name. Is it Madeleine? It's Madeleine. Is it Madeleine? I can't remember. Anyway. So they kind of finish his era off. But now they're continuing from what happens in Spectre because Blofeld's back. So Spectre's a very interesting movie, even before we've seen the scene, right? Because Danny Boyle was brought in. What a brilliant choice. What a kind of movie would Danny Boyle have given us? What a great choice, and what a shame that didn't work out. For me, that was very problematic and very tragic and very sad that it didn't work out. So now they've brought in this new director whose name, for the life of me, I can't pronounce or even remember. He's a very capable director. He's got a great CV as well. So then we hear that Phoebe Waller-Bridge has been brought in to put in some gags because they felt the movie was a bit too dark. What? Basically, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a big Bond fan. She's very funny, as we've seen in Fleabag, right? She's a very talented lady. There were rumours, and I was reporting these rumours months ago on my channel, that actually Phoebe had rewritten the whole film. I was very concerned. Something she said when they asked her about Bond's treatment of women. And she said a very interesting thing, which I actually did like, and I was surprised she spoke like this, because you never know with people today, because there's a craziness in the entertainment industry. She goes, it's okay for him to treat women badly, but it's not okay for the film to treat women badly. I get that. I get that. Look, there's a lot of questionable stuff in the history of Bond in its treatment to women, and I get that. I get that. There's that moment when Bond's got a camera on his watch and he's looking at the woman's cleavage. It's not great. But different times, different strokes for different folks. We need to move on. James Bond is just, as I say, people still want to go and see these movies, right? So there's no question that Bond's had its time. So I believe after these Daniel Craig movies are over and we get a conclusion to his story, I think we need to put this part of the Bond franchise to bed and go back to the original continuity of Dr. No and beyond, right? It needs to be the continuing. They can do that. So if they do kill off Bond in this kind of universe, let's just say this is an Elseworld Bond, right? You can literally continue the original continuity. I've always wondered as well if there's a more interesting way of explaining why Bond's always played by different actors. But while I was sitting on my patio today, I thought, well, you know those masks in the Mission Impossible films when they put them on and they look like different people? How about this? What if we have never seen James Bond's real face? So every time he changes actor, in fact, he puts one of these Mission Impossible masks on. So he can hide and protect his identity, right? So he changes his face all the time and looks different. But the people who work for him know it's him. That will be an interesting explanation on why he always looks different. Now, I know die-hard Bonds fans say, stop it, Mick. We don't have to explain this stuff. It's just a different actor. He's still Bond. Obviously, there's this kind of theory that James Bond is just a code name. Look, I don't like that idea. I think most real Bond fans don't like that idea because it just takes it away. We want Bond to be a character, not an idea. So definitely he's Bond. His name's James Bond. But at the end of the day, his identity we've never seen. I think that will be an interesting element. Now, although when we were kids growing up, it was fine having different actors and very little continuity within the movies, right? But I think with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how cleverly they put all these characters together, and in the Avenger movies, how it works, if we could set up some kind of James Bond, Avengers, Secret Service team, different characters to do different movies, this franchise deserves this. This franchise could be so successful. James Bond is the oldest franchise. It's the longest running franchise. Now, the MCU is catching up with the amount of movies. That's fair enough. But I believe that there needs to be an expansion. And I said when Casino Royale was announced, I mean, it was a reboot, I said, how about in conjunction with the Daniel Craig franchise, how about having a young James Bond TV series? And I said, instead of James Bond's parents dying in an ordinary rock climbing accident, what if it was made to look an accident and in fact they were killed? James Bond becomes 18 and then the people who killed his parents are after Bond. So while he's on the run, he's trying to also investigate who killed his parents. I think this would be great. I thought they were actually going to deal with that kind of avenue with Casino Royale. I thought that would have been interesting, but they didn't do that. I know what you're saying. Bond doesn't need, stringent continuity. It's never needed it. But as I say, we are in the era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The audience loved this, and we want Bond to keep on going for as long as possible, which is forever. I'm also very excited by Billie Eilish. Eilish, is that how you say her name? 18 years old, one of the biggest singers in the world. Old head on young shoulders. I can never say that word. Shoulders. Why can't you say shoulders, Mick? Shoulders. Anyway, so that's great because all those young fans are going to come in and watch Bond now. So that's a great decision from Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. But I've said it on this channel before and I haven't changed my mind. Excuse me. I am worried about No Time to Die. I really am. It's made constant changes within its development and production. And Danny Boyle being removed. But one of the big things that I forgot about, and I was watching one of Calvin Dyson's video, reminded me that not not just anyone is composing the music for this film. It's Hans Zimmer composing his first Bond movie. Now, I love Hans Zimmer, and I've loved him since Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. These are critically acclaimed scores, beautiful, dark scores. It would hint towards this being an epic film and a darker film. Maybe, I don't know. Daniel Craig says this film's actually about family. That'll be interesting. So, in the comments, I want to know from you, what do you think this Bond film, is this the end of this franchise, the Daniel Craig franchise? Will they continue this? Will they kill him and go back to the original continuity? And what do you think about my idea for a young James Bond TV series? And what about the masks hiding Bond's true identity? Would that work? Would that be a great explanation why they change actors? Of course, they have to. There'd be no Bond by now, right? So, also let me know who your favourite Bond is. I've got a soft spot for Roger Moore. He was my favourite Bond. Live and Let Die was my first ever Bond movie. He was great. Connery was great as well. Look, this is a great, proud. I have got a soft spot for Dalton and Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan may be over Dalton, but I think Licence to Kill is an amazing film. It doesn't get enough love, but definitely comment down below, like, share and subscribe. And are you excited for No Time to Die? Is November a better date than April? I think it is, even though I was very suspicious by the delay, but it looks like the COVID-19 was the reason for the delay, and fair enough, they put it in a great placeholder. I think it's going to stay there, and I think cinemas will be fine by then. I really do, hopefully. Who knows what's going to happen in the world, but more Bond videos to come. And what I'm promising my subscribers is once I get to 1,000 subscribers, we are going to get better tech. We are going to talk about more movies and TV shows in the entertainment industry, and maybe get a few other presenters as well and expand the channel. So comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back with more Bond films on Big Mouth.